Hi, I'm Jay Tyler. In this video, I'm going to show you how to make a delivery matrix tray for a lower bonded 3-to-3 retainer with mesh pads on the cuspids. Here's the bonded 3-to-3 matrix tray for delivering the 3-to-3. Here's the 3-to-3 lingual retainer, and it fits on this model here. Now just to sit that down and try to place it is kind of difficult to do. You can get it out of whack, and it'd be nice if you could have a system by which you could place this without having to mess with it, where it would go securely into place. And that's what this delivery matrix tray is all about. It has an indentation in there where this retainer fits into place. It snaps into place, and then the doctor can simply put the bonding agent on the pads and seat it down, and since it's clear, he can use the light cure wand and light cure it, or use adhesive, however he wants to do it. Now this is typically trimmed just over the incisal edge down to about the middle third or the incisal third. I usually like to take it back just halfway on the adjacent tooth, most distal tooth, and then just a little kind of close to the gingival margin, but leave a little room. This is composed of two materials. I'll show you about that in a minute. And there's a soft material and a hard material. So let me show you how we make this. Now the first thing we need to do is to secure the 3-to-3 to the model. Now I've tried different things. I've tried adhesives, but the problem with adhesives is that it gets inside the mesh pad and it's hard to get out. You can steam clean it and sandblast it and whatever, but it is really hard to get all of it out. I would rather use something that's either water soluble or something that just washes out. So to get this secured on here, I'm going to use a product called Heat Shield. Now this is a heat protected compound. It's not designed for this. It's a paste, and most of you use that, I'm sure, already to protect areas when you're soldering. But it also works well for this. I just tried it on a lark one day and just to see if it would work, and it worked just fine. So what I'm going to do is get a little bit on a spatula here. Now it doesn't have to be real secure to the model. It just has to be secure enough to, so I'm just going to put a little bit. It has to be secure enough just to hold it into place while the soft material goes down on top of it. And it goes down very quickly. There's not a lot of stress, so it doesn't have to hold it real well. And I'm going to put it on here and then position it. Now I assume you know how to bend a 3-to-3 retainer. Now there it is. I'm going to move it around, make sure it's adapted to the lingual surfaces of the teeth. I'm not going to show you how to bend this or adapt it. This is a preformed 3-to-3. I'm going to assume you already know how to do that. Okay, now that will hold it into place. Now I'm going to let it dry some, and when it dries, it really holds it pretty well. I mean, it'll pop right off, but it'll hold it well enough for the soft material. Now there's a couple of materials you could use. Now this is a laminated material. It's got the hard and the soft laminated together. You can probably see where they come together right there. The problem with that, it's a little klutzy to use. You have to heat one side, and then you have to flip it over and heat the other side. That's for a vacuum machine. I'm not sure how it works for like a Biostar, but I would rather use the separate materials. I use a thin, this is a 1 millimeter thin, soft materials, like a soft night guard material, real thin. Okay, now that's going to suck down over this device, and it's going to kind of wrap around and mold itself, make a mold for this 3-to-3. And then that's going to be the matrix that will hold it into place. Now this is pretty flimsy material, so you can't just use this. It'll just flop around too much. So once I put that down, then I'm going to use, this is an 040 vacuum material. You can use any type, it doesn't really matter, but it's the hard material. So this is like an Essex Ace material or something like that. You can use any material and it'll work. Now I use the 040 because it's a little more rigid. You can use the 035. It doesn't really matter. You just want it to be rigid so that when you take it off and you seat it, onto the patient, it's going to have some rigidity to it, not flop around, and it'll have a secure home to go to put it right back in the exact same spot that you want it into. So here I have it ready to go. It's mounted, I've checked it, and I'm going to let this dry just for a little bit, and by the time I get the heating element on the vacuum machine fired up, it should be ready to go. Now you can use a BioStar for this, and the trouble with the BioStar is that it is such a good device, it's liable to make the soft material wrap all the way around the wire, and if it does, you got trouble. You're not going to be able to just get it out of there. You want this just to be a mold in where this will just go into and then come right back out again. So I use the vacuum machine for that. So let's go over there and we'll vacuum form this. All right, this is going to be a two-step process. Here's my thin material, the soft material. I'll put it in the machine. I've already got the heating element ready to go. I'm going to raise the platform. I'm going to turn this around so I can see it, adapt to it. And then I'm going to turn this around. I'm going to let this droop down a little ways, about an inch. Okay, that's about as far as I'm going to let it go. Now I'm going to suck it down. Now I'm going to use the air to kind of cool it off, but be real careful. If you get real close, it's liable to get air underneath it and separate it from the model. You can use the freeze spray, but this is pretty inexpensive. The freeze spray is not. I'll just touch it and make sure it's not sticky. All right, that's pretty good. I'm going to pull it out of there and just cut it with some scissors. Now I can cut up in here too. Just give it a little more room to do the vacuuming. Okay, and so there we have it. And that's adapted really well around that 3:3. Now we're going to put the hard material on top of it, and the heat from it will cause it to adhere to this soft material. So here's the hard material. Let that heat up. Okay, that's enough for the hard material. I'm going to suck it down now. Cut that out. All right, and there we have it. Now I'm going to soak this in cold water for a while, and then we'll take it over and cut it out and trim it down. For the cut down and finish, I'm going to use three things. I'm going to use the little circular saw blade, and I'm going to use the coarse Scotch-Brite wheel, and I'll make it a little smoother with the medium. I'm not going to use the fine, it's not that necessary. This is just a temporary thing to get the 3:3 mounted in the patient and taken off again and then thrown away. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to just go back about halfway on the bicuspid, and then I'm going to go across the incisal third on the labial, and I'll go up close to the gingival margin, not quite to it, on the lingual. Here we go. All right, now I should be able to just take my fingers and pull it off, and I can. And because I use the heat shield and not an adhesive, it just pops right off. Now that heat shield will just wash right out. It just, you know, steam clean it, and it just leaves no residue whatsoever behind after you steam clean it. Now I'm going to go ahead and take this out and test it for rigidity or anchorage or retention, and it holds pretty well. So I can take this out, and then all that remains here, I've already polished it up and everything, all that remains on this to do is to sandblast. I'm going to steam clean, then I'm going to sandblast these pads, get them prepared, and then disinfect it, and I'll be disinfecting this as well, and then I'll put it back in here and it'll be good to go. So I'll set that off to the side. Now I'm going to use the coarse Scotch-Brite wheel and a low speed. I'm just going to go along and just kind of round off these sharp edges and smooth it up just a little bit. Now that's just about it. You know, if you're an in-house lab, that could probably be enough, but I'm going to go along with the medium-sized grit Scotch-Brite wheel and kind of smooth it up a little more. Alrighty, I think we've about got it here. Okay, so this is ready to go. And then now when you clean this up, when I disinfect it, I'll blow it out with the air hose, but be real careful. If you blow too hard, you're going to separate this likely. I mean, it gets, the second material, the hard material gets hot and it melts the soft material to it. But if you blast it really hard with some air, you could cause it to separate, and you don't want that to happen. So we'll then sandblast this, steam clean it, and sandblast it, and steam clean it again. And I will clean this up a little bit in here. I'm going to disinfect both of these, and then I will put this back in here. And if it's got real good retention, it'll just kind of snap into place and hold it, which this one does. Now, if you make one where you don't have any retention, it just kind of falls out, you can take a tiny little bit of wax and stick it, like maybe in this, between the centrals, and just let it flow in there, and just maybe take your spatula and just kind of smooth it off so that it doesn't lap over on the part of the wire that touches the tooth. And that will hold it into place. Just a tiny little bit of wax, and then when the doctor takes it off, that wax will be there, but he can take it off, or it can just wear off. So there you go. That's how you make the matrix, delivery matrix for the bonded 3-to-3 with the pads on the cuspids.